Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's me, CJ, Mr. Curry, to you. We're doing another NBA player prop live stream here, looking at prize picks today. We got 4 NBA games to talk about. We'll be discussing points, rebounds, assists, PRA, some fantasy scores, some three-point makes, some blocks and steals, whatever they've got up on the prize picks board, we're going to talk about it. So I appreciate everybody joining me this morning. Thank you so much for being here, chat. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notifications are turned on. I go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, doing what you see here. First look at the player props of the day, whether that be NBA, maybe it'll be another sport in the future, but we're going to get down to business, guys. We're going to take a look at today's NBA slate and try to find some winners. Just 4 games tonight, not a super big NBA slate or anything like that, but there's plenty of options for us to take a look at. Plenty of things for us to discuss. So appreciate everybody who's joining me in the chat. Mark H is in the building. Shout out to you, one of our Patreon members. He says, "What's up, CJ? Keep doing your thing, my man. You're never going to please everyone all the time. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?" Let's get it on this fine Taco Tuesday. Yes, it is Taco Tuesday. If you guys are not familiar with Taco Tuesday and that concept, it is something that PrizePicks does every Tuesday, where they discount a handful of different player props. Right now, they've got a Valorant discount going on. In the future, later on today, probably going to be a couple of NBA player props. If they do what they've been doing, they have something called the Taco Bar, where you could go visit the Taco Bar. You could basically vote on which players you want to select, and then you vote for which props you want to select for a discount. So you get to choose the player, you get to choose the prop by voting, whether that be in Discord or on Twitter. Not sure how they're going to do things today. Last week, I think it was Discord and Twitter. So definitely keep an eye out on that. PrizePicks doing some pretty cool stuff, getting the community involved with these tacos. I know a lot of you are like, man, PrizePicks, your tacos stink. Well, guess what, folks? You are the ones that are voting on the tacos. Keep that in mind. It is not PrizePicks that is choosing these tacos. It is the people who are voting for these tacos, these players, these props. Okay? So we need to rally together as a community and get the very best tacos that we can. So don't hate on PrizePicks if the tacos ain't hitting. It ain't them, guys. It is you all, the people who are voting on these players and these props. Keep that in mind, all right, before you go blaming PrizePicks. And the tacos are not meant to be a free square by any means. Yes, we've had tacos flop in the past, but, all we could do is vote in the very best tacos that we can. And let the players take care of the rest. Speaking of taking care of the rest, let's take care of the rest of the chat here. We got D Grave in the building. He says, "Good morning. Let's make this bag on Taco Tuesday." Love that energy. Drew Breeze is here. Had a great night last night, but I'm ready for some Taco Tuesday. Good morning, everyone. Shout out to you, Mr. Breeze, another one of our Patreon members. Everyday Fantasy says, "Good morning to the chef, CJ, and the hottest Patreon gang on Discord. Have a good Taco Tuesday, and please go vote for the taco and smash the like button on your way into today's live stream." Thank you so much, my man, Don P, making it happen, man. He's telling everybody, go out and vote for those tacos. Also, hit the like button on today's live stream. Let's shoot for at least 100 likes before we wrap things up today. Moody Clips is in the building. Shout out to Moody. We got Kyle in here. He's in a bounce back kind of mood, it sounds like. Hopefully Taco Tuesday is good to us and we find us some good tacos. Like he says, smash the like button while you wait. Brioza's here. Shout out to you. That looks like a new face, a new name, one that I haven't seen in a while. Chris Smith, shout out to you. He won $500 off of Mikal Bridges 3-point. No, that was Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges 3-point makes at 1.5. And Nikola Vucevic's double-double. Yeah, I wrote up the Nikola Vucevic double-double. He needed just 10 points, 10 boards against Toronto last night. And that pick ended up hitting for the Patreon community. So shout out for that. Mr. Sutton says, 2-pick power play yesterday with Kyle Lowry's fantasy points and Jalen Green's points came through big yesterday from yesterday's video, from yesterday's live stream. Yeah, we talked about both of those. Kyle Lowry's fantasy points looked pretty low. Shout out to whoever brought Kyle Lowry up in yesterday's live stream. And then Jalen Green was just far too low at 16 points. They had discounted my boy Jalen Green after he had a pretty bad game the night before. So shout out to Jalen Green and Kyle Lowry getting it done. Getting it done. Alex is here. King United, I see you. Shout out to you. Leroy's in the building. Helfus Castro says, good morning, y'all. Let's have a blessed day and get to this bag. Yeah, blessings to you as well, my friend. Thank you for the positive energy. Ronald's Green, what's up? What's up? What's up? Kevin says, options limited today. Let's be smart about the tacos. Let's get a Wendell Carter Jr. points taco. I hear you. I hear you. NFL's here. He says, yesterday was terrible. Yeah, yesterday was all right. It was just all right. I wouldn't say terrible, but it was all right. Jeremy says, hey guys, let's see if we can all make money tonight and help each other out. CJ, you rock. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Jeremy. You rock as well. Rashawn says, the like button has been smashed. Tell me something true for Taco Tuesday. Well, you know how I go about business here. We're going to break things down thoroughly. We're going to look at all the different player prop categories here. Try to find some value out there. Going to try and find some value out there. Rusty Bearings is here. Good morning. Let's get this bread today. Been out of it for a little minute. That's all right. You know, we're still here doing our thing, holding things down, waiting for you to come back. Sean Vega's here. Good morning to you. Ty's in the building. What's up, Ty? Aaron Rodgers. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. I think we missed you yesterday, Aaron. Mr. Rodgers, I don't think you were here, but if I missed you, my bad. Good morning to Nick Guthrie. Good to see Trevor up in here. We've got Zeike. Do I say that right? Did I say that right? I don't know. Dustin's here. Good morning to you. Gobert was a bum. Yeah, we thought Gobert against Nick Claxton for rebounds was going to be a gimme. But Gobert, once again, sold on his rebounds. Yatil says, CJ has to have the smoothest poker face. Why do you say that? What about my face makes you think that I got a poker face? Shout out to you, though. Mama Dow is in the building. Good morning to you. Isaac, happy Taco Tuesday. Let's cash some more like Maxey last night. Yeah, Maxey had himself a good day. Jalen Brunson's first half points were good. I think we talked about those on the stream. Hank's in the building. Shout out to you, Hank. Hank's asking how many NBA games are left. I don't know. In the regular season, not too many. But listen, the NBA season really doesn't end until June, gang. We got a long road ahead when you factor in the playoffs and all that stuff coming up. It's going to be a lot more NBA to talk about. So we are not quite there yet as far as the end of NBA talk. We got till June. We're going to stretch this thing out all the way to June. So anyway, appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, just a 4-game NBA slate. We're going to switch the format up a little bit different today and try to get you guys more involved. Try to get more of your questions answered instead of saving those to the end. We'll take it category by category and see if we can help you guys out along the way. All right. Yeah, about 8 to 10 games left, Kevin says, for the end of the NBA season. Donato says, small slate killer. Yeah, I like those small slates. Allows you to kind of narrow in, focus in your research a little bit better. So I'm with you. I'm a small slate killer myself. All right. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the slate breakdown real quick and see what we have to work with. We've got the Golden State Warriors at my Orlando Magic, 215 points. Not a very high scoring game. 7-point spread in favor of the visiting team, the Golden State Warriors. We've got Moses Moody as a game time decision. Wiseman, Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala all out. Sounds like Steph Curry's going to miss some time, folks, unfortunately. Speaking of missing time, Jonathan Isaac out for the season. Apparently he injured his hamstring while trying to rehabilitate his ACL. Man, this guy can't stay healthy. I'm pretty sure Orlando's going to be drafting his replacement this coming season. Hopefully we get Jabari Smith or we get Chet Holmgren in Orlando to fill in at that 4 spot. We move Wendell Carter Jr., make him a true center, get Holmgren or Smith at power forward, and then we'll be on our way. I'm optimistic about the Orlando Magic in our future. But Jalen Suggs is the biggest piece of injury news on the Orlando side. He is out once again, so it'll be Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton manning the backcourt, going up against Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson. So that's your first game, 7:30, Atlanta Hawks at the New York Knicks. Yes, Trae Young is back in the Garden, y'all. You know how Trae Young gets down in the Garden. Maybe Trae Young has himself a good night tonight in that hostile MSG environment. We'll have to wait and see. But we got 226 points between these two teams, a 3.5 point spread. So things look to stay close and competitive, according to Vegas lines makers. Hopefully that's the case, and we don't deal with any blowouts in this game. Keep an eye on Bogdanovich. He is a game-time decision for the Hawks. John Collins already ruled out, as is Lou Williams. Over on the New York Knicks side, Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, Nerlens Noel, and yes, Julius Randle are all out tonight. So it's going to be the likes of Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, and Alec Burks trying to hold things down for the New York Knicks going up against this Atlanta Hawks team. So big one there with Julius Randle being ruled out. Moving it down here to the 8 o'clock game, Chicago Bulls at the Milwaukee Bucks. Both of these teams missing some key components, but for the most part, overall, I'd say that they're fairly healthy. 234 points between these two teams, a nice juicy total, but a 7-point spread in favor of Milwaukee leads me to believe that this could creep into blowout territory. We've seen the Bulls kind of struggle lately in some of these games. I don't know if they'll be able to hang around with Milwaukee tonight, but let's take a look at it. Lonzo Ball still out for Chicago. Over on the other side, we've got DeAndre Bembry out for the season. Chris Middleton, the big one here, Chris Middleton is out for the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll have to see if the Chicago Bulls can keep up with the Milwaukee Bucks, being that the Bucks are without their second best player, Chris Middleton. That should be a fun game. And finally, the last game, the Los Angeles Clippers at the Denver Nuggets, 222.5 points, a 7-point spread in favor of the home team, the Denver Nuggets. Of course, we've got the long list of injuries. Those haven't really changed a whole lot for the Los Angeles Clippers. It's been the likes of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Norman Powell, all out. They're still out, gang. They're not coming back anytime soon. Over on the Denver side, nothing really changing there. It's been the same old with them for a while now. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. Maybe they end up coming back in time for the playoffs. We'll just have to wait and see. But for now, pretty much the same starting lineups for both of these teams here. Nothing really has changed for tonight. So that's today's NBA slate. I don't know if Middleton has been officially ruled out. I think he was questionable. I want to say he was questionable, but according to Numberfire, he has been ruled out. If that is not true, if there is something wrong about that, chat, let me know. If you have any more intel on Chris Middleton's availability tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks, let us know in the chat. Let us know. But yeah, I don't think Middleton's going to be playing tonight. And, you know, honestly, I don't know that they need him to play. I think they can beat Chicago without Chris Middleton. But anyway, that's your 4 games tonight. Clippers and Nuggets, Bulls and Bucks, Hawks and Knicks, Warriors and Magic. All right, so let's get down to business here. We're going to be starting our player prop research off by looking at the NBA player prop trends provided by our friends at props.cash. If you don't use props.cash, you're doing yourself a disservice when it comes to researching player props. Check out the link below. Your first month, 25% off using code Curry. All right, you can save yourself some money trying out props.cash for the very first time by using my promo code. Speaking of promo codes, if you don't play on PrizePicks yet, they're still doing a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, all the way up to $100. So if you want to put in $20, $50, or $100, they're going to match that money you put in, doubling you up instantly. So take advantage by using promo code Curry. Links for props.cash, links for PrizePicks down in the description below. Also check out the links for the free Discord that's down there, Patreon's down there. Whatever you want to get involved with, there's links for everything down in the description. But anyway, let's take a look at today's NBA slate, starting things off with some points. So here's what I want to do today. Like I said, I want to switch the format up, try to get you guys more involved, try to answer more of your questions. So we're going to start by looking at some of the high hit rate guys. And then I'm going to take your favorite points props. Then we'll move over to assists. Then we'll talk about rebounds. So I want to get your favorite plays and try to help you research them category by prop category, if that makes sense. So starting things off here, we got DeAndre Hunter at 13.5 points. He's got an 80% hit rate over his last 10 games. So he's been getting the job done. Clint Capella at 10.5 points, 70% hit rate. And then we got the likes of Kevin Huerter, Mitchell Robinson at 60%. And then from there, it's 50% or less. You guys, let me know, what are your favorite points props? I'd be happy to help you research those. Are there any points props that you guys are liking? I'm already seeing Donato Lombardi saying that Kevin Huerter is a points sleeper pick. Well, I would probably say Kevin Huerter becomes a whole lot more attractive when Bogdanovich is officially ruled out. Right now, Bogdanovich is a game time decision. So until we get an official ruling on Bogdanovich, I don't know that I want to go to Huerter just yet, but we could take a look at him. You guys are talking about him, so let's look into some Kevin Huerter since you guys are mentioning him. This could be one of those plays where if Bogdanovich is out, then we definitely look at Kevin Huerter going up against the New York Knicks. But Huerter, over the last 10 games, you can see what he's been up to. 6 out of 10, a 60% hit rate. Looking at just the last 5 here, he's 3 of 5, so a 60% hit rate in his last 5 games as well. And then going up against New York this season, he's 0 for 2. He had 8 points and 6 points going up against the Knicks. He needs 12 tonight in order to hit the over. Now, I want to take a look at something here because I mentioned Bogdanovich's name. If we take Bogdanovich out, let's take a look at Huerter's hit rates. Yeah, they get a lot better. 63% hit rate. We can also look at his splits, home splits, 67%. But he's going to be on the road tonight. His road split's not quite as good, meaning he does not cover his points prop without Bogdanovich in the lineup as good on the road as he does at home. He's a better scorer at home than he is on the road. There we go. Got it together there. So without Bogdanovich this season, he's 4 for 7 or 57% at covering 11.5 points. So that kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of what to expect from Kevin Huerter if Bogdanovich is out. We can also take John Collins out of the lineup and see what happens there. There you go. Now we're talking. Now things get a little bit sweeter here. So without Bogdanovich, without John Collins in the lineup, Kevin Huerter at 11.5 points, 18 at Portland back on January 3rd, 25 against Sacramento on January 5th. So he's 2 for 2 with both Collins and Bogdanovich out of the lineup on the road. So things might be, looking pretty good here for Kevin Huerter. Obviously, the New York Knicks are going to be without a ton of different players. They're going to be pretty thin. So yeah, Kevin Huerter could be in a good spot. Let's move it forward here. Let's look at the DVP, the last 7 games. I think we've reached the point where we could actually look at the last 15 games since we're like post All-Star break. Let's go to the shooting guard position. Let's go look at the New York Knicks and see how many points they're giving up to shooting guards. And we'll look at the small forward spot since Kevin Huerter could kind of play either position. Knicks giving up about 21.8 points to shooting guards. You can see where they rank there, kind of right in the middle of the pack. Not an overly difficult nor overly easy matchup. Kind of an average team at defending shooting guards and their points. Looking at the small forward spot, got to consider both positions here. Both wing positions in this case. New York Knicks giving up about 21 points per game. So that kind of puts them like right in the middle of the pack. So not an overly difficult matchup here for Kevin Huerter. Again, I really like this if both Bogdanovich and John Collins are out. We know Collins is out. So it really comes down to, is Bogdanovich going to be out? Let's get you a projection on Kevin Huerter's points. I do have him projected for 12.6 today. That's more than 11.5. And then across the board here at 11.5 points, the public betting the over, minus 125, even minus 130 on some sites. And then we're even seeing his points prop at 12.5 points on one other book. But at 12.5, the people are betting the under. They don't think 13 points is achievable tonight for Kevin Huerter. So Huerter could be in play here. I say if Bogdanovich is out, we already know John Collins is out, then maybe we go with some Kevin Huerter. All right, let's see what else you guys are liking today. There's a points prop that maybe you can get behind. Let's see. Osmosis Jones is mentioning some Aaron Gordon points. Aaron Gordon points. Let's look at Aaron Gordon real quick. Denver Nuggets going up against the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Aaron Gordon, former Orlando Magic. Not a big fan of Aaron Gordon. The way he left Orlando kind of left a little bit of a, sour taste in my mouth, so to speak. But Aaron Gordon's at 13.5 points. Let's go ahead and take a look at his points props. So 13.5 points. You didn't mention really if you're looking to take the over or under, Mr. OJ Osmosis Jones. I'm assuming based on these hit rates that you're looking to take the under on Aaron Gordon at 13.5 points. Is that a fair assumption? He's only covered this in 3 out of 10 games. That's just a 30% hit rate. We look at the last 5, just a 40% hit rate. 2 of 5 here. So maybe you're looking to take the under. Let's look and see how he's done against the Clippers. Well, my oh my, he seems to rise to the occasion, so to speak, against the Clippers. He's had 30 and 28 points. One game was on the road, one game was at home versus the Clippers, scoring 29 points per game on average versus the Clippers this season. These games both back in January. So not a very great hit rate over the last 10 or last 5, but against the Clippers, he's 2 for 2, 100%. We look at this Clippers defense, there's a lot of red and yellow up on the board, meaning difficult matchups for Aaron Gordon potentially. All right, he's going to be he's going to be at home tonight. So one thing that you could do with Prop.Cash, you can click games and go to season, and then you could take a look at how he scores at home, 39% hit rate, versus how he scores away, 57% hit rate. So pretty stark contrast there, meaning he scores a lot better when he is on the road. Tonight, he is at home. But he has covered both at home and away against this Denver Nuggets team. But the splits, very real here for Aaron Gordon. Much worse at home at scoring the basketball than away. So that's something interesting to kind of keep an eye out on when you're doing your player prop research. So let's move forward here. Let's look at the power forward spot against the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Clippers are giving up about 23 points per game to power forwards. You can kind of see where they rank, which is towards the top, 7th most points allowed to opposing power forwards. So the matchup is pretty good here for Aaron Gordon. Clippers giving up 23 points per game over the last 15 games to power forwards. Let's pull a projection up for AG, Mr. Gordon here. Got him projected for 13.5 points, which is exactly, coincidentally, what his prop line is at, 13.5 points. Now, across the industry today, he is at 13.5 points. Right now, the betting public not feeling so optimistic on Aaron Gordon's chances of scoring 14 or more. They've got him betting under. They're betting under on his 13.5 points. They think 13 or less points is the way to go for Aaron Gordon. And when you look at his splits at home versus the road, I mean, I kind of would have to agree. I'd have to lean toward the under as well. He just doesn't score as well at home as he does on the road. And again, Aaron Gordon is playing at home tonight. So there's a little bit of info about Aaron Gordon for those of you asking. Isaac's mentioned some Evan Fournier points. Let's take a look at Evan Fournier. Obviously, the New York Knicks going to be super thin tonight. It's going to be the likes of Fournier, Alec Burks, RJ Barrett, probably getting as many shots as they could possibly handle tonight. And we know the Atlanta Hawks not very good at guarding opposing wings. So I think Evan Fournier probably will have the green light without Julius Randle and some of the other players for the Knicks. He'll probably get all the shots that he could handle from the outside. So let's take a look at Evan Fournier real quick. We've got him at 14.5 points today over on PrizePicks. Let's take a look at the last 10 games. One thing about Props.Cash is you can dial in a custom prop. So it was by default set at 16.5 points. I've knocked it down, nudged it down to 14.5 points. Now at 14.5 over the last 10 games, a 50% hit rate. Not the greatest hit rates in the world. We look at the last 5. At 14.5, 60%. A little bit better in the last 5 games versus the last 10. One other thing that we could look at is seeing how he does without a guy like Julius Randle out on the court. Now, look, the Knicks are missing a lot of players. They're missing a ton of players. Let's see if he's got any games this season without Julius Randle. He does, in fact. He's got 2 games. One game where he scored 3 without Randle. One game where he scored 20 without Julius Randle. So we don't have a very big sample size, but you have to imagine when a guy like Randall is out of the lineup, there's a lot of usage that's going to be distributed to the rest of the players. Fournier, Burks, and RJ Barrett, probably the three guys that are going to benefit the most, right? Fair to say. Anyways, taking Randall out of here and just taking a look at how Fournier has done against Atlanta this season. We bump him back down to 14.5. And he's covered this in 3 games against Atlanta this season, 20, 15, and 18. So those games were probably with Julius Randle in the lineup. Now you factor Randle and a bunch of other players are out for New York. And maybe things get a little bit sweeter here for Evan Fournier. I just want to refresh because, sometimes these lines change. I want to make sure that we have the latest props pulled in. Is he really still at 14.5 points? No, he's been bumped. Son of a biscuit. Kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. Well, now he's at 16.5, so things get a little bit more difficult. Still 2 out of 3 against the Atlanta Hawks this season at 16.5 points. So not impossible, especially when you look at the matchup. Hawks 21st in points allowed, 24th in field goal percentage, 22nd in three-pointers allowed, and 26th in three-point field goal percentage allowed. And then we look at the shooting guard defense, they rank 19th. So they've bumped Evan Fournier up, unfortunately. That's the case, though, sometimes with PrizePicks. If you like it, you got to get in on it early. They've already bumped this lineup. But going up against Atlanta tonight, looking at the Hawks defense, against opposing shooting guards, they're giving up about 21 points per game. Not an overly difficult matchup. Like we've said before, he's gotten it done against the Hawks on multiple occasions this season. And we look at the small forward position and points allowed by the Hawks. Hawks got to go all the way down to the bottom, giving up the second fewest points in the last 15 games to opposing small forwards. So I don't know if that's going to impact RJ Barrett more than Evan Fournier, but pretty tough against small forwards. A little bit easier matchup if you're a shooting guard. Anyway, Fournier now projected for 15 points at this moment. At 16.5 points, we're seeing the public bet the under. They have no faith, no confidence in Evan Fournier at 16.5 points. So we're seeing a lot of action coming in on the under at 16.5. I wish he was still at 14.5, but such is life, man. PrizePicks be bumping. They bump. Sometimes they bump. And this looks like one of those cases where poor Fournier's PrizePicks prop of 14.5 has truly been bumped. Looks like Everyday Fantasy is mentioning some Reggie Jackson for points. Let's take a look at Reggie Jackson here. He's at 18.5 points. He's going up against Denver. I think from the past, from what I remember, Reggie Jackson, pretty good scorer. Denver Nuggets, not very good against the point guard position. So let's take a look here at the last 10 games for Reggie Jackson at 18.5 points. He's got a 50% hit rate, not the greatest hit rates in the world. But the last 10 games, he's been averaging 19.4 points. Last 5 especially pretty good here at 20 points per game. Dropping 31 against the Wizards, 24 against the Hawks, 23 against the Raptors. So he's 60% in his last 5. Looking at Denver this season, played him twice. Had 13 points in one game, 28 in the other game. Another thing that we can always look at is the splits. So Reggie Jackson will be on the road tonight as they travel to Denver. So you can look at the home splits. He's at a 52% hit rate at home, 31% hit rate on the road. Pretty significant difference there. A lot better at scoring at home than he is on the road. So maybe you want to take an under on Reggie Jackson at 18.5 points, being that he's playing on the road. He's just not as good on the road as he is at home. 11 for 35 on the road. 17 for 33 at home. So something to keep in mind, these splits. Got to keep the splits in mind. But the Denver Nuggets, kind of a somewhat difficult team. Let's take a look at the DVP here. Point guard position. We're going to go look at the points allowed by the Denver Nuggets over the last 15 games. We don't have to go down too far. They're giving up over 25 points per game. So it is a plus matchup for Reggie Jackson. Despite his struggles on the road, scoring the basketball, it is a good matchup against Denver. Moving forward here, we're going to get you a projection on Reggie Jackson's points. I have him projected for 19. That's obviously more than 18.5. And then across the industry today, he is posted at 18.5. We're seeing the public take the over on Reggie Jackson. So they have some optimism, some hope that Reggie Jackson finds at least 19 points against the Denver Nuggets. So like I said, matchup's good. But his road splits, not so good. So keep that in mind. Moving it down here, let's see what other points props you guys are liking. I'm seeing some love for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday. Obviously, we talked about Chris Middleton out tonight. Drew Holiday's going to have probably more usage, being that Chris Middleton's not in the lineup. So let's take a look at Drew Holiday's points here at 18.5, and maybe we can get an idea of what happens this season when Drew Holiday is in the lineup and Chris Middleton is out. So what we can do is look at the season. We go to games without. We go find Chris Middleton's name here. It's sorted alphabetically. So go down to the M's. We take Chris Middleton out. And now you see Drew Holiday at 18.5 points. I beg your pardon. He's at 19.5. Let's bump him down to 18.5. There we go. A little bit sweeter hit rates there. But overall, not a significant bump in terms of hit rates for Drew Holiday without Chris Middleton in the lineup. I mean, just a 44% hit rate at 18.5 points. The last few games, I guess you could look at here, these last 4 games, which were the most recent games without Chris Middleton in, he did do pretty well. He's hit 4 straight without Middleton. But yeah, not the greatest hit rates in the world overall. Let's put Middleton back in. Let's go take a look at how he's done against the Bulls this season. He's got 2 games against Chicago. He scored 13 against the Bulls back on January 21st. More recently, beginning of March 4th, he had 26 points at Chicago. So he did score quite a few points on the Bulls the last time these two teams met. Speaking of the Bulls, let's look at the matchup here. They rank 15th in points allowed, 23rd in field goal percentage, just 4th in total three-pointers allowed, but 25th in three-point field goal percentage allowed. So that means they don't allow a whole lot of threes to go in, but when those three-point shots are going up, they go up and in at a high percentage. Free throws allowed, they rank 14th, and shooting guard defense, they rank 3rd, but Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, more of a point guard than he is a shooting guard. So moving it forward here, last 15 games, Chicago Bulls giving up the first most points to point guards in the last 15 games, which bodes well for Drew Holiday. Without Chris Middleton, more usage, more shots will come his way. Hopefully, he gets more opportunities without Middleton. And then he's going up against a team over the last 15 games who are giving up the most points to the point guard position. So let's go ahead and get you a projection here on Drew Holiday. I got him projected for 19.3, which is more than 18.5. Obviously, you can cross-reference these projections on some of the free sites out there. NumberFire being one, RotoWire being another, Betting Pros being a third that you can take a look at for single stat player prop projections. But at 18.5 points, seeing a little bit of juice, a little bit of money coming in on the over on at least one of these books this morning. So there you go. Drew Holiday in a very nice matchup against the Chicago Bulls. And Chris Middleton not being in the lineup should boost him up, should bolster him. So those are some points props. Let's go ahead and switch it up, gang. We've talked some points. Let's look at some assists. You guys start leaving some assist props that you're liking. While you're doing that, swig of water for me. We'll talk about some of the high-hitting assist props on the board today, thanks to Props.Cash. Appreciate you being here. Drop a like on today's live stream if this player prop research is helping you out this morning. Drop a like. Let me know that you're digging what I'm doing. Thank you. And while you're reaching for your mobile device, while you're taking the cursor of your mouse and hovering over that like button and clicking, let's take a look at some of these assist props that are hitting at a high hit rate. Mr. Kevon Looney here at 2.5 assists. He's got a whopping 90% hit rate, but we're not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board, so we cannot choose Kevon Looney at this time. Monty Morris at 3.5 assists. He's another guy who is up on the PrizePicks board. He's been covering his assist prop in 80% of his last 10 games. That's 8 out of 10. For those of you who are not able to reach your calculator, 8 out of 10 is 80%. All right, simple math here, simple math. Andrew Wiggins, Golden State Warriors at 2.5 assists. He's been dropping dimes at a 70% hit rate. That's 7 out of 10. Got a couple of guys at 60%, including Trae Young and Will Barton. And then from there, things really start to fall off steeply. You got Reggie Jackson at 50% and a whole list of guys at 40% or below. So let's take a look at some of your assist props. Some assist props that you guys are liking. Already seeing some love here for Zach LaVine. That was a pretty good one last night. I believe Zach LaVine ended up hitting his assist props last night. So shout out to you if you took Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan was not interested in hitting his assist prop. Let's take a look at Zach LaVine real quick. Chicago Bulls taking on the Milwaukee Bucks like we talked about before. Chicago's pretty much completely healthy. The only guy that they're really missing is Mr. Lonzo Ball. But Alex Caruso going to be starting in the backcourt alongside of Zach LaVine. Let's take a look at LaVine at 4.5 assists. By default, he's at 5.5 assists. So I'm going to keep refreshing here because PrizePicks is active. Okay, LaVine is still at 4.5 as of right now. So at 4.5 assists, let's dial him in here on props.cash. You can see over the last 10 games, Zach LaVine has covered 4.5 assists in 80% of his games. That's 8 out of 10. Very nice hit rates for Zachy boy here. 4.6 for the season, 5.5 in the last 10, 5.4 in the last 5. And against Milwaukee this season, he has played them once, ended up hitting his assist prop with 6. Got the job done rather easily. So Zach LaVine looks like he's in a pretty good spot at 4.5 dimes. Moving it down here, you can see the Milwaukee's defense is allowing the 23rd most assists at 25.5 total assists allowed to opposing teams per game. So pretty good matchup here for Zach LaVine. Let's go take a look closer at the last 15 games and see how many assists that Milwaukee's been giving up to shooting guards. You can see right here, 5.3. 5.3 is a pretty healthy number for a guy who needs 5 tonight. You can see where they rank about the 7th most assists allowed to shooting guards in the last 15 games. Moving it forward here on Zach LaVine, let's go take a look at his assist projection. I got Zach projected for 4.6, which is barely more than 4.5, but it is more nonetheless. And at 4.5 dimes, the public agreeing with you in that Zach LaVine over 4.5 assists looks like a pretty decent play. Minus 120, minus 115 on a couple of different sports books. So there you go. Anthony Marcus, thank you so much for reminding the good people to hit the like button. Without these likes, the channel doesn't grow. And if the channel don't grow, well, then we die. And we don't want to die, right? We don't want the channel to die. We want the channel to flourish and to keep growing. So thank you so much for reminding everybody who's watching to slap that like button. Now that we've talked about some Zach LaVine assists, I think he's in a pretty good spot tonight from what it looks like. Shout out to Owen for mentioning that one. And somebody else also mentioned that Zach LaVine assist prop. Let's look at another one. You guys are talking about Andrew Wiggins at 2.5 dimes. You're liking some Andrew Wiggins. Do you think maybe he finds a couple more assists tonight without Steph Curry in the lineup? Well, we don't have to speculate. We can actually find out what happens. Let's type in Andrew Wiggins' name. We can pull them up here on props.cash. We're going to look at the season view here. Season view, 63 games, and then we're going to go ahead and hit the drop down. Games without, let's remove Steph Curry and see what happens here with Andrew Wiggins. He's played 4 games this season. 4 games this season without Steph Curry. He has only covered 2.5 assists in one of those games, and it was against his former team, the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had 4 dimes. Otherwise, it's been pretty tough here. He's only had 1 assist against Detroit, 1 against New Orleans. And then most recently, the last game that he played had just 2 assists against the San Antonio Spurs. So tonight he takes on the Orlando Magic. Maybe it's an easier matchup. Spurs, though, pretty easy matchup as well. Couldn't get it done against them. So who knows with Andrew Wiggins, but he's just 1 out of 4, gang. 1 out of 4 this season without Steph Curry at covering his assist prop of 2.5. So a 25% hit rate. All right, let's bring Curry back into the mix here. We'll look at the last 10 games. It looks pretty good, but don't be deceived, guys. Don't be deceived by this. Like I said, the hit rates fall way off without Steph Curry in the lineup. Moving it down here, Orlando ranks 18th in assists allowed. That's about 25 assists given up per game. Let's move it forward. We're going to look at the small forward spot. See how many dimes the Orlando Magic are giving up to opposing small forwards. We go all the way down to the bottom. You can see that they're giving up the first fewest assists to small forwards in the last 15 games. Just 3 assists allowed, meaning Andrew Wiggins will have to find every single assist that the Orlando Magic have given up on average in the last 15 games. Listen, there's other small forwards on the team, not just Andrew Wiggins. So to ask him to find every single assist that Orlando is giving up might be asking a little bit too much. It might be a difficult ask here for Andrew Wiggins. So don't fall in love with the last 10 games of Andrew Wiggins at 2.5 assists. I know it looks good. It looks like he's been hitting the over, but if anything, without Steph Curry around, things could get a little bit more difficult. Pulling up a projection for Andrew Wiggins, I got him at 2.4. There's a reason why the betting public is smashing the under on 2.5 assists. You've seen why. He's just a 25% hitter in 4 games without Curry. But his betting odds, -140 under, -130 under on some of these sports books. So if you're going to take Andrew Wiggins at 2.5 assists, maybe you consider taking him under based on the information that we pulled up. Who's another assist prop that you guys are liking? I'm seeing a number of different names being thrown out there. You're saying DeMar DeRozan. Do you think DeMar DeRozan's in a bounce back spot possibly against Milwaukee? He's at 4.5 assists. We talked about his teammate Zach LaVine. Zach got it done last night. DeMar DeRozan didn't against the Toronto Raptors, DeRozan's former team. So let's go ahead and take a look at Andrew Wiggins. DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan at 4.5 assists. For my money right now, Zach LaVine looking like a good play, but maybe DeRozan is worth playing as well. Let's take Lonzo Ball out also and see what happens here. 4.5 assists is the number for DeMar DeRozan. You can see what he's done over the last 10 games without Lonzo Ball. He's covered in 6 out of 10, a 60% hit rate. Now against Milwaukee, he's played Milwaukee twice without Lonzo Ball. At 4.5 assists, he's covered in 1 game, but he went under in another game. So he's 1 out of 2 or a 50% hit rate. So we scroll down here. Let's get our scroll on. We could see that Milwaukee, once again, 23rd in total assists allowed at over 25.5 per game. Let's go find the Milwaukee Bucks and see how many assists they've been giving up in their last 15 games to small forwards. And they're not giving up a ton, just 3.9. That's the real number. 3.9 assists allowed per game. That's about 4. He needs 5. So it's going to be kind of a tall task once again for DeMar DeRozan to get it done. Not that it's impossible, not that he can't do it, but maybe I like Zach LaVine a little bit more. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Moving it forward here, let's get you a projection on DeRozan. He is projected for 5.1 dimes, which is more than 4.5. But again, cross-reference this projection. This is obviously just one projection model. There's a number of sites out there, as I mentioned before, that you can cross-reference against. But at 4.5, the public taking the under on DeMar DeRozan. They don't think tonight is a night where he finds 5 or more assists. So there you go. Who else are you guys liking for assists? Let's take 1 or 2 more, and then we'll move it on over to rebounds. We got Monty Morris at 3.5 dimes. He's going up against the Los Angeles Clippers. He plays for the Denver Nuggets. Monty Morris going up against the Clippers. 3.5 assists is the number from Morris. So let's pull him up here using props.cash. Again, if you want to check out props.cash and use these tools on your own and dig in more, if you've never used props.cash before, 25% off your first month. Use code Curry, link in the description below. But Monte Morris at 3.5 assists, nice hit rates here, 80%, 8 out of 10. So he's doing more dime dropping here over the last 10 games than we've seen him do for the season. 4.3 average for the season, 4.6 in his last 10, 4.4 in his last 5. Now he's played the Clippers 3 times this season. And in all 3 games versus the Clippers, he has hit the over 5, 5, and 9. So he's 3 for 3 or 100% for you, those of you keeping score at home. 3 for 3, 100% against the Los Angeles Clippers. So he's been doing a pretty good job when he faces the Clippers at hitting 4 or more dimes. So I think that Monty Morris is in a pretty favorable spot from what we're seeing here. Last 10 games look good. Last 5 games look good. And previous matchups versus the Clippers, that's right, you guessed it, they look good as well. So the Clippers defense, they rank 11th in assists allowed. That's 24 assists given up per game. Not the most difficult matchup in the world. Let's look at the point guard position. We will sort by assists from greatest to least. And we're going to go find the Clippers. We don't have to go down very far. Clippers are giving up 9.4 assists per game to point guards. Monty Morris, pretty much the point guard. Yes, Will Barton handles the ball sometimes. Yes, Aaron Gordon will touch the ball at times. Yes, Nikola Jokic gets a lot of assists from the center position. But point guards in general, pretty easy time here against the Los Angeles Clippers over the last 15 games. Over 9 assists allowed. This man needs 4. He's 3 for 3 at hitting this prop against LA. So let's get you a projection here on Monte Morris. Mr. 80% over his last 10 games at hitting. He's projected for 4.6 assists at 3.5 on 3 different books. Big betting favorite, minus 135, minus 140, minus 145. Are you guys liking Monte Morris based on what I'm showing you here? Hit the thumbs up in the chat if you think Monte Morris is in a good spot to go 4 for 4 against the Los Angeles Clippers at hitting 4 or more assists this season. Monte Morris, thumbs up for Morris over 3.5 assists, or maybe you're not going to take it. But I think things are stacking up pretty good here, lining up nicely for Monte Morris over 3.5 dimes. All right, there's some assist props for you. Let's talk about some rebounds. I think we've uncovered some pretty good ones here. Thanks for you guys who are participating in the chat. By the way, if you have some rebound props that you're liking, go ahead, start leaving those in the chat for me. And we'll take a look at some of your favorite rebound plays over on PrizePicks. It's all about the picks, y'all. Now, Monte Morris is back up on the top of the leaderboard here. What I mean by the leaderboard is the high hit rate board. He's back up here at 80% at 2.5 rebounds. I'm not going to dig into him too much here, but he could be a good play for rebounds as well. We've already talked about him for assists. Let's diversify our portfolios. Talk about some of these other guys. Franz Wagner at 4.5 rebounds over the last 10 games, 80% hit rate for him. We've got Gallinari, Wiggins, Reggie Jackson, all hitting at a 60% hit rate. The rest of these dudes, there's a lot of 50%ers in here. Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Mitch Robinson, RJ Barrett, Mo Bamba, all hitting at 50%. And then from there, it's a bunch of guys hitting at 40% or below. Seeing a lot of thumbs up for my man Monte Morris at 3.5 assists. Let's take a look at some of your rebound props. Some of your rebound props that you're liking. I'm already seeing some love here from my man Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell Carter Jr. I think is at 9.5 rebounds today. Going up against the Golden State Warriors, let's take a look at Wendell Carter Jr. Had himself a career night the other night. Of course, you know me. I'm an Orlando Magic diehard. Wendell Carter Jr. having a breakout season. Had 30-plus points the other night, double-digit rebounds. He was just absolutely cooking against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But tonight's matchup is against the Golden State Warriors. This is not the Thunder. Do not get it twisted. Do not get it confused. Tonight's matchup probably going to be a little bit more difficult than the matchup against the OKC Thunder. But in the last 10 games, Wendell Carter Jr., 8 out of 10 at covering 9.5 rebounds. That is an 80% hit rate. Very good hit rate. You can see he's averaging 10.5 for the season. That's one full rebound more than his line today of 9.5. His last 10 games, 11.7. His last 5 games, 10.6. So all his averages are much, much higher than the 9.5 that he's listed at today on PrizePicks. We look at previous matchups against the Golden State Warriors. He took on the Dubs back on December 6th, and he pulled in 12 rebounds against them. So he easily hit the over at 9.5 boards. Now, I don't know if Draymond Green was in or out for that game, but I do expect Draymond Green to play tonight. I don't think Draymond's been ruled out. If he has, let me know in the chat. But I don't think he's been ruled out. So Wendell Carter Jr. might be in a very good spot at 9.5 boards, but it will be kind of a difficult matchup going up against Kevon Looney, Draymond Green in that front court. Anyway, things looking pretty good here. We scroll down, we take a look at the Golden State Warriors defense. They rank 4th in total rebounds allowed, 7th in offensive rebounds allowed, and 5th in defensive rebounds allowed. So kind of a tough team. Moving it forward here, let's take a look at how the Golden State Warriors have done in the rebound category. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit skewed. Most of these games did not include Dre. No Draymond Green in a lot of these games, so keep that in front of mind. But they're giving up about 15.3 rebounds per game to centers, which puts them like smack dab right in the middle of the league. Kind of an average team over the last 15 games in keeping centers off of the glass. Looking at the power forward spot, because he and Mo Bamba both kind of, I don't know, big men, we'll call them, power forward center. So we'll also look at the power forward spot. The Golden State Warriors against power forwards in the last 15 games, The Dubs doing a lot better job here, giving up just 9 rebounds per game. That is the 4th fewest to power forwards. So somebody's going to eat here. It's either going to be Wendell Carter Jr. or Mo Bamba, but if I'm taking a rebound prop, it's probably going to be Wendell more than Mo Bamba, right? So at 9.5 boards, I like him a little bit better than I do Mo. He just gets in there. He's gritty. He's tough. He's the guy that brings his lunch pail to the basketball court. He's living in the paint. He's not out there playing stretch 4, stretch 5 basketball like Mo Bamba is. Mo Bamba, not a very physical guy. That's what I'm trying to say. Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be the guy that's getting his hands dirty down there wrestling for some rebounds. But anyway, I got him projected for 11.2 boards today, which is a lot higher than 9.5, obviously. And we're seeing the public snatching the over. They're snatching it up. Minus 130. They like the over on 9.5 rebounds. So I think Wendell Carter Jr. can definitely get it done here against the Golden State Warriors. We'll have plenty of opportunities to pull in 10 boards. All right. Chris Smith says, say something is a lock. It gets people taking it and losing props. Yeah, listen, Chris, you and I think both know that there are no locks. There are no locks. You know when it's a lock? When there's like that little green mark and then that money enters into your account and then you know you've won. Then you can go ahead and say it's a lock. Until it happens, it is not a lock. Nothing is a lock, all right? Weird crap can happen. I thought Rudy Gobert at 13 rebounds last night against Nick Claxton, once Andre Drummond was ruled out, I thought that looked really good. Little did I know, Rudy Gobert would be out-rebounded by both Royce O'Neal and Jordan freaking Clarkson off the bench. They both had more rebounds than Rudy Gobert did against Nick Claxton last night. Embarrassing. Flat out embarrassing. What are some other rebound props? We're talking rebounds. Hayden, I see you. Hayden, I will get back to that little super chat that you left me once it's time to talk some PRA, but we're talking rebounds for right now. But I see you. I will definitely circle back to that once it's time for some PRA talk. But Wendell Carter Jr. was one of the rebound props that I see you guys are talking about. It seems like Everyday Fantasy's liking some Joker rebounds. Now, Joker burned me the other night. Who was he taking on that night? Cleveland? Yeah, he was going against Cleveland. I thought for sure against Evan Mobley that Nikola Jokic would be able to dominate the glass. Well, listen, that game went to overtime, and Joker did not get the rebound prop done. So I'm a little skittish. Little once bitten, twice shy on taking the over on Nikola Jokic at 12.5 boards, so to speak. But let's look at it. Jokic, obviously, one of the best, if not the best, rebounders, big men in the NBA, but his rebound props have been very volatile lately. He has not been somebody smashing the boards. He's got guys like Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Monty Morris swooping in there, stealing rebounds from him, just like we saw against Cleveland. Anyways, I digress. If you look at Nikola Jokic here over the last 10 games, he's just 4 for 10, 40% hit rate. He is averaging slightly more than 12.5 at 12.6. But then we look at the last 5 games, and there's a lot of red here. A lot of really, really bad games. 8 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 10 rebounds. I mean, not even sniffing 12 to 13 boards in 3 out of 5 of these games. So I'm a little worried about Joker. Yeah, he's going to be facing off against Zubac tonight. Now, 3 meetings against the Los Angeles Clippers, he's hit the over on his rebounds at 12.5 pretty easily. 22 boards against the Clippers back on December 26th. He comes back with 13 and 14 rebounds in the month of January against this Los Angeles Clippers squad. So taking a look at Joker in this matchup, Clippers D giving up the 28th most rebounds. They rank 30th in offensive, 24th in defensive rebounds as well. So it looks like a very good matchup here. But so did the Cleveland Cavaliers when I played him against the Cavs. And he did not get the job done. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers last 15 games. How many boards are they giving up to opposing centers? They're giving up about 15.1. Not all that great. Kind of puts them right in the middle of the pack. Right? Not super strong matchup. Not the worst matchup, but not super strong either. Let's also look at the last 7 games and see if the Clippers are giving up more lately. And, not really. I mean, giving up about 14 boards. So the matchup's not looking super good, super strong here for Joker. against this Clippers squad. But he has crushed them 3 games this season. He's 3 for 3, like we talked about. So if you wanted to take a shot on Jokic, then, I couldn't be too mad at you. He's projected for 14.3 boards at 12.5 rebounds. The public not feeling so good about Jokic getting 13 or more. They're taking the under. They think 12 or less against this Clippers squad. 12 or less tonight. So that's what the public's doing. For me, I probably am not going there on Jokic tonight. Just not going to go there on his rebounds. Let's do one more rebound prop. The GOAT's asking about Mitchell Robinson's boards. He's talking about Mitchell Robinson without Julius Randle. What do we think about his rebounds? They're at 9. He's going up against Clint Capella. No John Collins tonight. So it'll be Mitchell Robinson, Clint Capella duking it out on the glass. Let's see what happens here with Mitchell Robinson when we take Julius Randle out of the equation. So Mitchell Robinson, he's at 9.5 boards by default over on props.cash. Of course, PrizePicks has him up at 9, so we're going to bump him down to 9. And his hit rates don't change over the last 10 games. He's still at 50%. Over the last 5, things have been a little more shaky as well, averaging just 8.4 in his last 5. But you guys want to know what happens when Julius Randle's not around. Let's see if we can get any type of games here. Game logs without Julius Randle this season. He has played once. One game without Julius Randle this season. It was back on New Year's Eve, December 31st, and it was against a pretty weak team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, but he did pull in 12 rebounds against the Thunder. So very limited sample size. In fact, just a 1-game sample, obviously, without Julius Randle, but he did a very good job. Again, it was against a not-so-good team in Oklahoma City. So moving it down here, the Atlanta defense, they rank 11th in total rebounds allowed, 12th in offensive, and 12th in defensive rebounds. So that kind of gives you an idea, maybe what you can expect here. Moving it forward, looking at the defense versus position, Mitchell Robinson versus the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are giving up about 16.5 boards per game to centers in their last 15 games. That puts them right around the 10th most given to opposing centers. So the matchup looking pretty good on paper here for Mitchell Robinson. Then we move it forward. We're going to pull a projection for you. I got Mitch going for 9.6 boards, but the public at 9.5 rebounds is smashing the under on Mitchell Robinson. That is why he is at 9 rebounds on PrizePicks. We're also seeing him as low as 8.5 over on PointsBet. So PrizePicks taking the middle ground here. Instead of putting him up at 9.5 or 8.5, they said, let's split the difference. Let's put him up at 9. So maybe given the matchup, given the 1 game without Julius Randle where we saw him pull in 12 rebounds, maybe we take the over on Mitchell Robinson, being that he's projected to go over 9 boards at 9.6. And we just realize that, hey, there's a chance that maybe we tie or we push on these rebounds for Mitchell Robinson. But yeah, too little of a sample size to really feel super confident about what might happen without Julius Randle. I wish we had more games, but we don't. So we have to try to do the best, make the best of what we can with the information we do have. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other props. We've talked points, rebounds, assists, PRA. We had a super chat come in from Hayden Shepard. Thank you so much for the super chat, Hayden. Also, thank you to Eric, Brian, Alex, Zaron, G Money, Chris Devine, Scott Walker, all of our new subscribers. Shout out to you guys as well. Thank you so much for subscribing. Appreciate all you guys for hitting that like button as well. And again, we're going to get the message out to as many people as possible, but I can't do it alone. I got to have some help, and that's where you guys come in. You're going to help me get the message out, get the player prop research out to as many folks as we can, right? So let's talk about these PRAs. Mr. Shepard here, again, left that super chat about Wendell Carter. We've already mentioned Wendell Carter Jr. for 9.5 rebounds, looking like a pretty decent spot. What about his PRA, though? If you guys got any PRA plays, you can start leaving them for me, and I'll take a look at them. But right now, we're going to look at Wendell Carter Jr.'s PRA going up against Golden State. I saw some of you express some concern that, hey, this game could blow out. And you're right, it could blow out. For me, I locked in an entry already. It was a first half fantasy points play for Wendell Carter Jr. I think some first half plays, if you think a game could blow out, is not a bad way to go. Not a bad look, taking the first half only. But over the last 10 games, Wendell Carter Jr. at 29.5 PRA has hit the over in 7 out of 10, 70%. He's averaging 34.1 PRA, and in the last 5 games, 35 PRA with a 60% hit rate. Now, he played Golden State once, ended up falling short with just 29 PRA in that matchup. So he hit his rebound prop, but fell short on the PRA. So that kind of gives you an idea. Maybe you should be looking at just the rebounds instead of the PRA. But let's dig into it a little bit further here. We can also take a look at how Wendell has done at hitting his PRA at home versus on the road. They're playing in Orlando tonight, so it is a home game for Wendell Carter Jr. He's hit the over on 29.5 PRA in 41% of his home games. On the road, 39%. So he's not a big splits guy. Pretty much the same, 39, 41%. Not a real big difference at 29.5. So let's go ahead and move it forward here. We're going to look at both the power forward and center spots. Take a look at the Golden State Warriors. See how many points plus rebounds plus assists they're giving up to power forwards and centers. They're giving up about 20 points per game over the last 15 games, about 9 rebounds. So already we're at like 29 PRA, and then they're giving up about 3 assists on top of that. So about 32 PRA to power forwards. So there is a little bit of upside, a little bit of room here for him to possibly hit the over. Now for centers, this is where things get really nice for Wendell Carter Jr. Golden State's given up about 29 to 30 points per game to centers, about 15 rebounds. You're already looking at 45 PRA, and then you drop 5 assists on top of that. You're looking at about 50 PRA. So you could go Wendell Carter Jr. PRA. You can also look at his fantasy points against Golden State. Golden State giving up nearly 60 fantasy points per game. That's the 6th most to opposing centers over the last 15. All right. Let's take a look at Wendell Carter Jr.'s projection for PRA. I got Carter projected for 29.6, just a little bit higher than the 29.5. The public taking the under, though. They think that 29 or less points plus rebounds plus assists is the way to go for Wendell Carter Jr. tonight. So they're betting the over on his rebounds. Let's look at those rebounds again. Yeah, at 9.5 boards, he's a pretty nice betting favorite, minus 130 to go over rebounds, but they're not liking the PRA as much, the public anyway. So take that for what you will. The betting public, not always the best tale, meaning they're not always right. You may not always want to follow what the betting public is going to do. What's some other PRA options you guys are liking here? Taking a look. We're looking for PRA plays. Is there any other ones that you guys are mentioning? I'm seeing, Wendell Carter Jr. Of course, we've already talked about him. Reggie Jackson, Alex Caruso, Clint Capella. I've seen a couple people here mention Reggie Jackson. So let's talk about Reggie Jackson real quick. Reggie Jackson's at 29.5 PRA. Let's pull him up using props.cash. Type his name in real quick. Wait for that to populate. You click in and boom. You got his last 10 games right in front of your face here. So at 29.5 PRA, covered this in 6 out of 10 games, a 60% hit rate. Now, the last 10 games, he is averaging 31 PRA. Things get real sweet here when we look at the last 5, especially though. 30.2 PRA average. He's had 41, 34, 32, and 34. So he had 4 straight games, but then he falls off pretty dramatically against Utah. So maybe he's in a bit of a bounce back spot versus the Denver Nuggets tonight. Looking at the season against Denver, he's had 20 PRA back on January 11th. More recently, January 19th, 43 PRA. So he's 1 out of 2 or 50% at covering his PRA this season against this Denver Nuggets squad. So we take a look at the Nuggets. They're giving up the 12th most points, the 5th most rebounds, and the 16th most assists, and they rank just 20th against point guards. So speaking of point guards, we'll click the point guard position. We're going to go find the Denver Nuggets. They're giving up 25.7 points, about 5 rebounds, so that's like over 30 PRA already, and then 9 assists on top of that. So let's call it about 40 PRA roughly given up to point guards in the last 15 games. Not bad. This guy needs 30. They're giving up over 40 PRA. So plenty of ceiling in this matchup against this Denver Nuggets squad. So we move forward here. Let's get you a projection on Reggie Jackson's PRA. I got him projected for 28.3, less than 29.5. And the public over on DK Sportsbook, they're putting their money on the under. They think 29 or less PRA is the way to go for Reggie Jackson. So there you go. That's the breakdown on Reggie Jackson's PRA. Let's see. Any other PRA options that are standing out here? Let's go back to the high hit rates. You guys are mentioning a number of different names. Taking a look at some of these other PRA plays. We've talked Monty Morris for a number of categories, both for assists and rebounds. So I think his PRA probably a decent option as well. We just talked Reggie Jackson, who's at 60%. Honestly, a lot of these guys aren't doing a great job here at hitting their PRA. I mean, these hit rates are pretty abysmal. So you're going to really be looking for not so much hit rates, but the best matchups. So be focused on the best matchups. One way that you can easily find good matchups for PRA potentially is by using this DVP tool and going over to the fantasy category, fantasy column. So like you see the Orlando Magic, they're giving up 53.97 fantasy points. But then you take a look at how many points, rebounds, and assists they're allowing, and then maybe a guy like Jordan Poole, PRA, is a decent option. He's not up on the board, but if they add him to the board, maybe you look at a guy like Jordan Poole. So that's one way that you can kind of find some good matchups for PRA. But yeah, you know, some of you guys are mentioning Clint Capella. I've seen Clint Capella come up a couple of times. Obviously, Julius Randle's out. Looking at the fantasy points allowed by the New York Knicks to centers in the last 15 games. I mean, they're giving up 22.7 points, about 16 rebounds, and about 3 assists. So, you know, about 42 PRA. So maybe Clint Capella's in a pretty good spot here at just 23.5. We could take a look at Capella and then we'll move on from there. But yeah, Capella's PRA is what we're going to be taking a look at, and then we'll take a look at some of these other categories. But Capella needs 24 PRAs going up against New York. Obviously, we talked about no Julius Randle for New York tonight. At 23.5 PRA, 7 out of 10, 70% hit rate. Let's see what happens when we take John Collins out of the equation. We go to the full season view. Games without John Collins. Clint Capella at 23.5 PRA. He's covered in 71% of his games. So a pretty nice hit rate for Capella without Collins at 23.5 PRA. Let's say Bogdanovich is out too. Let's see what happens. Boom. So without Collins, without Bogdanovich, Clint Capella at 23.5 PRA is 4 for 4. And he's been covering it pretty easily too. 36 against Chicago, 43 against Cleveland, 34 against Portland, 27 against Sacramento. So it looks pretty good without just John Collins. But when you go John Collins and Bogdanovich, you take both of them out, things get a lot better for Clint Capella. 4 for 4, averaging 35 PRA with both Collins and Bog out of the lineup. So definitely something kind of worth keeping an eye on, out on if Bogdanovich is out. It seemingly helps Capella quite a bit. Now against New York this season, Mr. Capella has covered his 23.5 PRA in 1 out of 2. Had 38 against New York back on November 27th, just 16 against New York on 12/25. Looking at this Knicks defense, they rank 8th in points allowed, 10th in rebounds allowed, and 13th in assists allowed. Moving it forward here. We already talked about how many PRA the Knicks are giving up. It's a pretty big number, 22 points, 16 boards, 3 assists, so about 42 PRA roughly. 43 even. So let's pull a projection up on Capella. I got Capella projected for 25.7 PRA. That's about 2.2 more than where he's at today at 23.5. But for whatever reason, the betting public, not so high on Capella. They got him going under 23.5 PRA. They're putting their money on the under. Minus 125 and minus 120. So there you go. There you go. Clint Capella. Looks like he's in a really good spot, especially without Bogdanovich, especially without Collins. But for whatever reason, the public, maybe they're uninformed. Maybe they have not dug as deep as we have dug on Clint Capella. But they're taking the under at 23.5. There you go. So now that we've talked about some PRA options, we've broken them down thoroughly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next player prop category. Instead of points, rebounds, and assists, let's go to 3-point makes. Not a whole lot of three-point make options on the board, but we're going to take a look at some of the three-point makes that you guys are liking. I think Andrew Wiggins at 2 3-point makes is probably always worth a look. I wish he was at 1.5, but he's at 2. But going up against Orlando, it seems like a very doable thing, especially without Steph Curry. So let's take a look at Andrew Wiggins real quick. We go to the three-point makes. We take a look at Wiggins. We just type him in here using props.cash. Click in on him. He's at 2.5 by default on props.cash. Now what we want to do is go to the season view, and then we want to go games without, and we want to remove Steph Curry. Once we remove Steph Curry, we want to make sure that the line is set at 2 3-point makes. And he's played 4 games this season without Steph Curry. Surprisingly, he has not exceeded 2 3-point makes in any of those 4 games. He's went for 1, 1, 2 being the most, and 0 in those 4 games without Curry. So I thought maybe this guy would really excel without Curry and that his 3-point makes would be very good, but that's not the case. That's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing actually the opposite. He seems to struggle without Steph Curry in the lineup. But I will point out that against Orlando this season, he's played them once back on December 6th, made 8 3-pointers versus the Orlando Magic. So maybe tonight he's in line for at least 2 3-point makes. I'd probably lean toward the over, being that the matchup is good against Orlando. But there's a chance that possibly he ties. Orlando ranks 26th in total threes allowed, 27th in 3-point field goal percentage made. So again, the matchup, very good on paper, right? Very good on paper. Looking at the small forward spot against the Orlando Magic, last 15 games, the Magic are giving up 2.7 3-point makes to opposing small forwards. So that's a pretty good number. He needs at least 2 to tie, 3 to hit the over. Guys are saying refresh. All right, I'm going to refresh. What's going on? I've refreshed. What are we refreshing for? Who's at 2.5 3-point makes? Not Wiggins. I just refreshed. He's at 2. Maybe you need to refresh. I just refreshed. Yeah, he's still at 2. Maybe you need to refresh. Maybe he was at 2.5 and now he's at 2 because people are taking the under. I've refreshed. We're at 2. All right, we're at 2. Refresh your app. Close the app and open it back up and tell me what you see. Do it now. Do it now. Anyway, Wiggins at 2. I'll probably take the over. All right, and realize that there is a chance that maybe he ends up tying. Let's take a look at Wiggins' projection. He's projected for 2.2 3-point makes. At 2.5, the public is betting the under. So that is probably why he is at 2 on PrizePicks. But yeah, I think, due to the fact that he made 8 the last time he played Orlando, there's a chance here that maybe this guy just goes completely off on us tonight. So us, meaning me, the Orlando Magic, as a Magic fan, I say us. So I would take the over on Wiggins at 2 and see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to preach to you. Don't you worry. We're going to have church up in here, my friend. Is there any other 3-point props that you guys are liking? Because, the 3-point plays on the board don't look too sexy to me. We talked about some Andrew Wiggins potentially being a good look. Do we think Trae Young's going to come into the Garden? Is he going to come into the Garden tonight and tear up the New York Knicks from beyond the arc? Got any other 3-point props that you guys are liking? No, we have not talked Fournier threes. He's not up on the PrizePicks board, but Fournier's probably going to get a lot of shots. We did talk about Fournier for points, so you guys want to look at Trae Young for 3-point makes? We could do that. We got time. Let's look at Trae Young real quick. Trae Young going up against the New York Knicks. Let's take a look and see what Mr. Young is going to be up to tonight. So he's at 2.5 on most sites. He's at 3 on PrizePicks. So we're looking at the last 10 games. Let's dial it up to 3 and see what happens. You can see over the last 10 games, he's hit 3 or more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10 at 3 or more, 60% hit rate. The last 5 games at 3 3-point makes, He's also 60%, 3 out of 5 in those games. Going up against the New York Knicks this season at 3 3-point makes. My man has covered in 2 games. He hit 5 against New York back in November, 4 against New York in January. He's averaging 4.5 triples made in those games. You can see he is a big betting favorite, minus 180 to go over 2.5 3-point makes, which is why PrizePicks has gone ahead and bumped him up to 3. Let's also look at what he did against New York last season. So he played the Knicks a lot last season at 3 3-point makes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has hit 3 or more in 5 out of 10. So technically a 50% hit rate. Doing a lot better, though, in his last 4 to 6 games at hitting 3 or more. So that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect maybe out of Trae Young tonight. New York's defense, pretty thin. We know that their backcourt's pretty thin. It's probably going to be what? Alec Burks guarding Trae Young. Pretty decent defender. He's not bad. Maybe he sees some Evan Fournier or RJ Barrett on defense. But the Knicks overall, 20th in total threes allowed, 11th in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, just 23rd against point guards. Speaking of point guards, let's go see how many threes they've been giving up over the last 15 games. We go down and we find the New York Knickerbockers. Knicks going up against the Hawks tonight. Where are they at? Cannot find them. I cannot find them. There they are. 2.8. They're giving up about 2.8 threes in their last 15 games to point guards. So that puts them somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. It's not the easiest looking matchup on paper. We wish they were like Orlando, who's given up 4.2 threes made to point guards, but that is not the case. They're not giving up a whole lot of threes. Taking a look at the projections here for Mr. Trae Young. Got him projected for 3.1, which is more than 3. At 2.5, though, like I said, the public smashing the over, minus 175 over 2.5, which is why PrizePicks put him over 3. There's a chance that maybe he ends up in a tie or a push. Tie or a push, perhaps. But, yeah, I think he's going to try and have a good night against the Knicks. Hostile crowd to be expected in Madison Square Garden. But yeah, Fournier. Yeah, you guys are mentioning Fournier. I think Fournier could be in play. So there you go. There you go. Let's move it on here because we're starting to run out of time here. We're an hour 22 minutes in. Let's quickly just talk about some free throw makes. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, guys, but you kind of know my stance on these free throw makes. You're going to want to play the guys who are high usage guys. In other words, who are the players that are going to have a lot of touches? Who's going to have the ball in their hands the most? Guys like Trae Young, RJ Barrett, probably more usage for Klay Thompson without Steph Curry. Giannis, obviously, high usage guy. He's leading the league. I think he's toward the top of the league, top 3 anyway, in free throw makes or free throw attempts. So Giannis will always be in play, especially without Chris Middleton. Maybe even more usage for Giannis Antetokounmpo. DeMar DeRozan, very aggressive player, always attacking, always slashing. He's very good at drawing fouls. I'm sure he will find his way to the free throw line as well. And then you want guys who are going to be their designated technical free throw shooter for their team. So when a technical foul is called, will that team send that player to the line to shoot that technical free throw? And toward the end of the game, whenever it becomes crunch time and it's competitive and we're looking at scenarios where intentional fouls start coming out toward the end of a game, who's going to be that player that their team forces the ball into his hands because he's a good free throw shooter, reliable free throw shooter? Now, speaking of reliable free throw shooters, you want guys, once they get to the free throw line, that are hitting their free throws at a high percentage, at a high clip. So, a guy like Klay Thompson, high free throw shooter. Trae Young, high percentage free throw shooter. Guys like that. You want them to make their attempts when they get the opportunities. So moving it forward, looking at blocks and steals, the only player we have up on the board is Mohamed Bamba. You might know him as Mo Bamba. Mo for short. Looking at the steals and blocks for Mo Bamba over the last 10 games, his hit rate, where is he at? Let's just do this. 100%? No, that ain't right. That's Andrew Wiggins. 60% for Mo Bamba. He is a betting favorite to go over 1.5 steals plus blocks. You know him as stocks, more appropriately known as stocks. We go find the Golden State Warriors. They're giving up about 1 steal, 1 block to centers over the last 15 games. He needs 2. So that's not bad, not bad. Looking at the power forward spot, they're giving up 0.7 steals and 0.7 blocks to power forwards. So I don't know. Probably not going to take the over on Mo Bamba, but if he gets it done, I wouldn't be surprised. And then finally, double doubles. We've got Nikola Vucevic up at 0.5 double doubles. The only way I'm playing this is if his rebound line is above 9.5. So let's go look at it. Vucevic is at 9.5 rebounds. So there's no need for me to take the double-double. If I believe that Vucevic scores 10 points, which is pretty much a gimme, right? Pretty much a layup. It's pretty much a given that he's going to score at least 10 points. Then it really comes down to, do we think he's going to get 10 or more rebounds? And so really you're just playing a rebound prop on these double-doubles at that point. Yeah, I mean, sure, something weird could happen where Vucevic could go for 9 points. Maybe he has a terrible shooting night. But for the most part, Vucevic is going to hit 10 points in most games, right? So really it comes down to, is he going to hit 10 rebounds or not? And you can avoid a possible situation of him having a bad shooting night. So instead of taking the double-double with his rebound prop at 9.5, just take the rebounds and take the over on 9.5 rebounds or the under if you feel like he's going to go over or under on 9.5 boards. So the only time that I want to take the over on a double-double versus just the rebounds, like let's say his rebound prop was at 10.5 like it was last night. I took the over on the double-double because he only needed 10 rebounds and 10 points to hit the double-double. He needed 11 rebounds. So I thought, hey, the 10 points are basically free. I'd rather have him take, I'd rather him hit 10 rebounds than have to take 11 rebounds, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain it, but anyway, that's the way it goes. That's it though, guys. I mean, we covered a lot today. Like I said, changed the format up, tried to kind of take more of your questions through the flow of the show rather than leaving those questions toward the end. I know I didn't get to everybody's question. I hope I got to enough good questions and good prop suggestions that it leads you to a winning night on what is a short 4-game NBA slate. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for all the likes and sharing this video and subscribing and turning on those notifications so that I can alert you whenever I do go live. I'll be back at it again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And if you guys have more questions, want to talk more player props, the conversation doesn't end here. I'm in Discord. There's a link down in the description of the video to Discord. There's also a comment section on these videos. Feel free, if I did not get to your question, hit me up in Discord or leave a comment. I'll be happy to take that for you. Until next time, see you tomorrow. Good luck tonight. Peace out.